If you're in ops or you're in enablement or you're a sales leader right now and you're listening to this, and if you haven't up-leveled your sales process to look across the entire buyer's journey, where you're pulling in the renew, the grow, the customer success motion into one end-to-end process, you're missing an opportunity to elevate the experience for your buyers. Hello and welcome. My name is Elay Cohen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SalesHood. So excited to be here today at the beginning of 22 to talk about the modern buyer's journey. The pandemic continues, and digital selling is something that is becoming even more on the forefront. And our buyer's journey is continuing to evolve. And we're going to spend some time today talking about it and what are some tips and templates and insights that you can take away and take back to your teams. Again, my name is Elay, excited to be here. And I am joined by the one and only Michele Dotterer, Senior Sales Director, recently promoted and our top salesperson of the year. And so Michele, please say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Elay. Hi, everybody. Michele Dotterer, originally from Detroit, Michigan. So shout out to Nate. I have had, my entire career has been in sales, and I'm thrilled to be part of the SalesHood family. I came most recently from a vice president's position, which is what took me down to Florida from Michigan. And when we exited and sold the company, I said, you know, what's next for me? I've been to some of the best SaaS platforms, started my career at Sun Microsystems. I just had a wonderful career. And I said, you know, I just want to get back to basics and sell something I'm really passionate about. And a friend of mine told me about Elay and this incredible software that I wish I had when I was acquiring 5 and 6 companies a year and trying to figure out how to get them all onboarded and on message. And I just reached out to Elay and said, you need to hire me. And the rest is history.
I love it. I love it. And so when we were planning this session on the modern buyer's journey, we were thinking about who would be a great person to showcase, to share their insights, to share their tips. And Michele immediately jumped to the top of my list. You know, top performer, super seasoned, super experienced when it comes to sales execution, loved by her customers. And I thought, let's have one of the best in the industry kind of guide us through how she thinks about the modern buyer's journey. And she's going to show us some of the stuff she's used with her customers. So listen, today, key takeaways, we're going to walk you through how you should be thinking about the modern buyer's journey. We're going to show you a modern buyer's journey in action. Can't wait. And then we're going to give you a readiness checklist for how you can get your teams to be ready as well and to be just as great as Michele. I know no one can be as great, but we want to get everyone to be performing like the best, and you're one of the best. And Michele, again, congratulations on your promotion. We're so happy for you, and what a great year. And what a great year. And what a crazy year, right? Look what's going on in our world. You know, we are in a pandemic. Folks are still working at home. We're not jumping back to the offices so quickly. And look what McKinsey is saying. McKinsey is saying 70 to 80% of decision makers prefer remote human interactions or digital self-service, right? We're not in the office, and folks want answers to their questions ahead of time, and they want to be able to be empowered with information. And this is a quote from 21 from one of their research reports. And similarly, Trust Radius also is sharing that 25% of buyers are spending less time talking with vendor reps than they did, you know, before the pandemic. And so, like, Michele, when you see these stats, what does this tell you about what's going on in the sales world?
You know, it's a good point, Elay. And I looked at the 25% number and I said, this really resonates with my calendar because, quite honestly, 25% of my calendar is booked with meetings. The rest of it is work that I'm doing to support, you know, the buying process. And but if I flip that and say, what does the calendar look like for my buyer? It's completely booked with a lot of other things. I mean, I barely get 20 minutes of time or 30 minutes of time of face-to-face, in a Zoom call. So it really resonates, and it says to me that you got to switch things up. You absolutely have to. I haven't been in this business so long that I don't know that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So you got to embrace it and figure out how to work in that world.
Right. I listen, the world of selling is evolving, and everyone has always talked about the future of sales. And you know what the pandemic has done is it's accelerated our evolution and to this world of modern digital selling. And we're going to show you some examples, and absolutely the presentation will be made available. We're going to turn this presentation into a blog as well, along with the video that is going to be available as a replay too. And so, Michele, I love it, right? Your calendar is representative of these stats. And so the question that I want to ask everyone, and this is the question that we want to answer today together, is how ready are your teams to embrace modern selling? How ready are your teams to embrace the modern buyer's journey? And it's a big loaded question, and it's not an easy answer because we've got sales teams and salespeople that are coming from different backgrounds. They've got different skills. We have folks that have different tools and resources that they're used to using. So really, we want to be thinking about this in a very strategic fashion because we need to up-level everyone, and up-leveling means skills, resources, content, and it needs to be very, very, very holistic. And so what we've got here is a modern buyer's journey, right? You're not seeing a sales process. You're seeing a buyer's journey. You can see it starts on the left with education, and then it moves into exploration, and then evaluation, and then experience. And then we're going to move into expansion. So it's a relationship that goes over an extended period of time, right? And every step of the way, what we're doing is we're providing information, content, the right assets to our buyers, to our decision makers, to our influencers. And check out this stat: by 2026, Gartner, 30% of B2B sales cycles will be run in what they're calling, a digital sales room. And how does this modern buyer's journey map to how you've been engaging with your customers, Michele?
It's right on. And, there is a thing, they used to say, always be closing ABC. And the fact of the matter is, if you follow that model of the educate process, you're going to run a lot of sales cycles that don't go anywhere. Always be curious is probably best in figuring out how to move somebody from each one of these stages, and understanding at some point they're going to be ready to evaluate and expand into a real sales cycle. And so you really do have to be on top of this. And I although I love the always be closing, live by that entire career, it's really expanded beyond that.
Always be curious, always ask questions. I think, a lot of the times we'll want to jump to the evaluation phase. We'll want to jump to the close. However, some of our buyers may not be ready. Their teams may not be at a point where they're ready to go into evaluation. And so it's our job to get really curious about where our buyers are. And that's what a modern seller is. A modern seller identifies where the buyer is in their journey and then goes where they are and provides resources and assets. And we're going to give you a ton of examples. But I think one big takeaway I want to leave with everyone is, if you're in ops or you're in enablement or you're a sales leader right now and you're listening to this, and if you haven't up-leveled your sales process to look across the entire buyer's journey, where you're pulling in the renew, the grow, the customer success motion into one end-to-end process, you're missing an opportunity to elevate the experience for your buyers. And I wanted to that should be the first kind of checklist item that you're thinking about. We're working, many of our customers, we've got some amazing customers like Ring Central, Power School. We've got some amazing companies, and they are all currently reimagining their sales processes to be more buyer-centric. And I know you've got a bunch of customers as well, Michele. They're all the leading companies, the most hyper-growth companies, are the ones that want to achieve excellence. They're rethinking their sales process to be more like this. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love where we're going. And you know what? I think when we think about And you can see here our friend Jocko from Winning by Design. They've written an amazing study and done some amazing research on this concept called meaningless selling. And so what's additionally happening, the process is now evolved. The process is more buyer centric. We're more curious. And I love that, Michele, ABC, always be curious. But now, since we're remote and since we're doing more digital selling, and since we have folks that are not necessarily in the office anymore, this notion of asynchronous or meaningless selling is increasingly more important. And so kind of the math of this is we're having less in-person meetings. We're having more interactions with people, when folks are not together. You send them a site, and on that site, they've got a demo, they've got some case studies, they've got some research studies. And what's happening is they're getting information, they're getting insights, they're getting information, they're sharing it with their teams, so that way they can make decisions faster. And that's a really big benefit here. So we need to look positively at some of the changes that the pandemic has impacted this year. And digital selling, while we all really crave for in-person, and we're going to get back to it eventually, we'll have complete in-person experiences, but for the interactions that matter the most. I think a lot of the interactions that have happened in the past don't necessarily need to be in person, and they can be managed through a modern buyer's journey with what meaningless selling is all about. We're going to show you a digital sales room in action. What have you experienced, Michele, around accelerated sales cycles or meaningless selling over in 21?
Yeah, I think it's right on. So there are more people that have an opportunity to interact, and so there could be a propensity for more online meetings. The question is, how do you manage the number of requests or lack of requests, knowing that there's a broader team involved? But more importantly is, how do you build rapport when you can't be in person? So if there are fewer meetings, there are fewer opportunities to build rapport. And every good salesperson knows that people buy from people they know, they buy from people they trust, and building rapport quickly is important. It's important because you want to develop a champion, and you want to be able to ask tough questions and ask for the sell.
Yeah, I love it. And I think I want to go a level deeper here. And what you see in front of you right now, 10 ways to turn meetings into momentum. What's amazing about this is that we need to be really prescriptive with our teams. We need to be really prescriptive with our buyers. We need to be really prescriptive. You can see here 10 tips, right? I'm always a believer in providing tips, right? And what are some of the things that we can do to help our sellers be more prepared when they are engaging with their buyers, either in person or synchronously or asynchronously, right? On a Zoom call or on a Ring Central call or sending information. And so just a few tips here, right? So first of all, if you want to accelerate your sales cycles and you want to really embody and embrace a modern buyer's journey, then hey, clearly some fundamentals here, right? Share meeting agendas ahead of time in your calendar invites, make sure that you're asking questions and being curious. Look at number 5, send slides in advance, right? I believe, why not? Why not send slides ahead of time? Even with a short video talking script, talking over it, that can accelerate, because when you, and we're assuming our buyers have time to watch it, but like, hey, whenever I send slides ahead of time, Michele, I always get the, hey, that was great, thank you, because then they come prepared with questions based on the slides, and you're really having a conversations. And look at 6, you're getting your buyers talking. And one of the things enablement folks and ops leaders should be thinking about is, and even CMOs and marketers, product marketers, when you're rolling out your corporate pitch presentations, make sure that you're adding questions on the slides. So that way, when you are training your sales teams and you're getting them to practice their pitches and you're getting them to be better at the buyer's journey and trying to accelerate, getting them to be really good in conversational and slides and getting them to ask questions is great, right? So, and you can see here, these are 10 tips to turn meetings into momentum. And, Michele, which one of these resonate for you?
Well, I'm gonna start with, to me, the most important thing, and that's number 2, prep. And it goes to what I said earlier in trying to build rapport. So if I'm having a first meeting and I know who's attending, I've done my prep, there's some things I can do in advance to establish connection with the people that are going to be on the call. So what are their backgrounds? How can I quickly, connect with them? How can I ask them relevant questions? So number 2 is prep. And that is ultimately going to get your buyers talking, by the way, because if you are asking them questions that are specific to what matters to them, then they're going to interact better. And so planting questions on slides become very simple because you've done some research, and it just makes everything on down the line a lot easier.
And you're a master, right? I've seen you because I've seen the emails that you send out. You're very clear, right? Here are the goals of the meeting. And this is, you've already got the meeting secured. Folks have already accepted your meeting, but then you're still sending that email with, here are the topics that we're going to cover. Here are some questions. Here are some slides that we'd like to go through, get your feedback on. Oh, here are some demos. Like, you're just a master at being really, really proactive at that. And you're also a master at pulling the team together and getting the whole team prepped, so everybody knows their roles in these meetings. And I'm so happy that you highlighted that. That's a skill that I think folks don't take the time enough to do, and to remind our sales teams, to coach our sales teams. And if you're a seller listening to this, salesperson, sales professional, like, it's so important that what Michele just described, that you're really doing in a disciplined manner all the time, because it makes a difference. It's going to help you rise above the pack and be a better sales professional. And ultimately your buyers and prospects are going to want to engage with you because you're more prepared and you're helping them with their decisions. Anything else on this slide you want to highlight, Michele?
Yeah. So, another thing I would say to you, and when you send slides in advance, it's really important to engage your champion, right? So who is your champion? You got to test your champion. A great way to test a champion is to send them the slides in advance and ask for their feedback. And I can't tell you how many times I get comments back, and that is an indication right off the bat that I have somebody who I can count on when it gets tough. And then I'll use them to help plant questions on the slide. So if I can get my champion to co-present with me, it's a huge win.
I love it. Look at that. That's to think that we almost missed the most important point on the slide, to test your champion and then arm your champion, get your champion to help inform some of the questions and the agenda of wow, beautiful. There's a reason why you're the top seller at SalesHood. It's amazing. Congratulations. Let's move forward a little bit. And so as we think about the buyer's journey, and now we're going to bring it back up a level, right? So let's kind of leave the individual meeting and the pre-meeting, the during meeting, the post-meeting follow-up, and all that great stuff that needs to happen. And now what we want everyone to appreciate is the level of detail that should go into thinking about resources and tools and training and assets and information and insights that could be made available to our buyers in a modern buyer's journey. And so if you look across this process here and you go, okay, what are some things I can share with a buyer that may be in an education phase? Boom. I'm going to share with them website pages, some webinar links. I'll share with them some white papers, some blogs. Great. You're an expert and you're being thoughtful in the information that you're sharing, and you're trying to build a rapport and relationship. In what better way than providing information and being a partner for them, because they're not ready to buy yet, but they're in an education mode. So educate them, right? That's the first phase, right? Michele, anything to add on education?
No, I think that's right. I think, and as we're going to see later on, it evolves. So if you look at what's the first thing that goes into one of my buyers' sites, and what's the last thing, it kind of mirrors this exactly, right? It's educating, giving them what they need, helping them evaluate. And the last thing that goes in is, you're going to see, is a proposal.
Oh, I love it. I think that is great. You've highlighted something for me, which is it builds, right? So you have a relationship with a buyer, and that buyer is your champion. And then you've got your executive sponsor, you've got your influencers, and you've got your stakeholders. You got a group of people that are now, you got a group of people that you're collaborating with, and you're going to feed them information along the way when they need it most. And that information is going to build, right? And I love it. You're going to listen, everyone, stay tuned. On this call very soon, Michele is going to walk us through a digital sales room, a buyer site, how she shares content with buyers across this journey. Can't wait. So just stay tuned. We're going to get there. And I love it. And I think let's move forward a little bit more, Michele. I think, wow, there's so much. I'm so happy you're on the call with us. It's so great. And, so as you look across here, exploration, what are some of the resources and assets and content that we're going to want to share? Pitch deck, meetings, demos. So interesting. Mm-hmm. There's a question that's come up. A lot of times people expect a demo on that first call, right? Like, one way to overcome the expectation that you're going to show up and just do a demo without any discovery is, why not share a demo ahead of time and share with them a demo recording, a 3-minute, a 5-minute, a demo vignette of something that they're interested in, that you've learned maybe through a lead form they filled out, or maybe in an email back and forth, where you're always being curious, like Michele said, and asking, hey, what would you like to see a demo of? And then you can send them a link. And then when that call kicks off, right, we're shortening the sales cycle. When that call kicks off, Michele, what are you doing? All right, well, I've sent you the demo. What questions do you have? What do you think? Right? Like, right. You do that masterfully.
Yeah, it's important. I hate doing a demo on a first call. It's sometimes expected. And if I can't help a client or a prospect visualize anything else, there's usually one slide in the opening screen I share, but not much more. Because really, you'll have to say, listen, in order for me to understand, and if we're going to be a good partnership, we're going to be a good match, we need to learn something about who you are as a company and whether it's going to be a good fit. And those that push back, that should be a red flag. That should be a flag that says,
totally,
this is not. And one of our great mentors, Elay, said, being able to close out and move on is just as important as winning. So if I'm going to lose, I want to lose early and move on to the ones I'm going to win.
It's true. It's true. And so education, exploration, you can see here. So this is a template. And as you're thinking about your buyer's journey and your sales process and your resources and your content and assets, you can use this as examples. But another key thing here is I want you just to appreciate the granularity here, right? So if I'm a salesperson and I work at your company and I'm seeing a map like this, and this map has suggestive things I can share at the various stages. Now imagine that this is also should have a by persona, by industry, and you should have that layer on top here. So it's simplified in that way. But just think of how much more ready your teams will be if you're giving them this kind of map. And then if you're able to click on any one of these links, and it would take you to the training, the content, take you to the assets, organized, prescribed. That's where you need to get to as an organization. That's where you need to get to. Anything, well, what else would you add there, Michele?
Well, I've been on both sides, right? So before I came here, I did all this manually for a sales team. And when I came to SalesHood and I had the platform and I had all of this laid out, I can't tell you how fast I came up to speed and had my first close. And being able to have all these assets ready means the work that I have to do, I can spend the work where it needs to be, not on finding things and easily getting to use case studies and proposal templates and all of the things that make it easy for me to sell. And I get to it. The thing I love about SalesHood is, and this is not just because I sell it,
yeah,
but it's from a seller's point of view. And so when I look at how to use the tool, it's very easy for me to use it because I'm a seller. And this is made for me, right? It's not made for the marketers. Love you guys, but it's not made for marketers. It's made for sellers. And so when I can get to it easily and every step of the buyer's journey, I can get to the assets that I need. I can get to help when I need it. That's what makes it so rewarding, and honestly, what results in more wins for me.
Absolutely. And listen, making this content available, first of all, organizing it, curating it, and making it available, whether it's in a library like SalesHood or in Salesforce, with tagging, which is providing views from Salesforce, from SalesHood, and then being able to measure the utilization, the consumption, and the buyer insights and the buyer intent and the buyer views of all this content. Kind of that's how you're going to really know if your buyer's journey is achieving the goals that you're trying to achieve in terms of win rate, sales cycle time, close business attainment, ramp time, right? You got to know what your teams are using, how they're using it, and how the buyers are reacting to it. And that's what Michele is going to show you in a minute. And, one thing I did want to highlight, right? I wanted to just share a point here, which is, the idea of sharing videos in the sales cycle. It's not just about sharing a video as a, hi, I'm Eli, would like to introduce you to SalesHood, and, click on this link and schedule a meeting with me. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being thoughtful. We're talking about, before you have a scheduled meeting with the champion for one of your key accounts, to record a really thoughtful video outlining the agenda, outlining goals and expectations of the call, outlining the materials that you've sent ahead of time. And then guess what? And then you'll know if they watched that video. And then after the meeting, you send a thank you email summarizing and recapping the current situation, the problems, the impacts, the ideals, the next steps, right? And just think about bookending your meetings with that level of professionalism when it comes to selling. Think about recording a mutual plan. Think about recording a mutual plan, kind of walk through so you can get stakeholders aligned. It's a lot more than just sending a prospecting video. And what would you add to this slide or to my comments on how to use video in the sales process?
I think it's hugely important, and I will tell you that was the biggest difficulty for me coming into this world of video. I was not comfortable at all. I think I recorded my first pitch, Eli, on the system 150 times before I allowed you to grade it. But it's harder than it looks, right? And so this is where marketing can really help us a lot by getting those assets. The one I want to focus here is those short demo vignettes. Believe it or not, it's incredibly hard to do a demo that you're going to share with somebody after the fact, because I'm not a professional. I say too much. I start places and I can't stop, and it's much different than when you're doing a live demo. And so having short demo vignettes, what I have noticed is when I load in a full meeting versus short demo vignettes, which are meant to punctuate certain parts of the meeting, maybe that went well or we didn't get a chance, those things are watched a lot. So this is the area that I think marketing can help us a lot by creating really nice, sharp assets that we can use in the video world.
Yeah. Customer reference and testimonial videos is another great addition that marketing can do. So there's a shared responsibility here. Sales professionals own the customer relationships. They understand the business problems and the impacts in the business case and the ultimate tailoring of the pitch to the customer's business problem with the solution, right? But marketing, as a partner to sales, owns these demo vignettes, owns customer case study videos, and you know what? These videos, listen, we can see the drop off, but a short demo vignette, anywhere from 1 minute to 3 minutes. Case study videos, anywhere from 1 minute to 3 minutes. Once you get to videos that are longer than 5 minutes, the drop off is dramatic in terms of folks just not willing to watch it. Now, the beautiful thing is these systems and technology in the SalesHood, you can go and you can watch it in chipmunk speed, 1.5x, and you can go through it quickly. Everything is transcribed as well. And so it's powerful that way. But listen, keep them tight, keep them short, keep them bite-sized. That's why what we're doing is we're breaking down the buyer's journey. We're providing you with the stages. We're showing you what assets. And yes, I really appreciate the question on the size. It's a great point. Bite-sized and short would be great. And so, listen, we're so excited in 21, we spent a lot of time broadening our sales enablement platform footprint and rolling out content sharing, where our customers are able to enable their sales teams, their partners, to share content asynchronously in a very dynamic, elegant experience using buyer sites. And this is recording and sharing videos, sharing content in the sales process that maps to the buyer's journey, setting up an experience where buyers, sellers can collaborate, ask questions, and then most importantly, tracking insights. And Michelle's got a fabulous story. And we've asked Michele, she's a true professional and she has been selling for a while and she's our top salesperson. She's also embraced digital selling and some of the tools that we rolled out this year. And we'd love her to show us how she has used content sharing to help her drive better conversations and better experiences for her buyers. And Michele, are you ready to show us some of your great work?
This actually was a live site for a prospect that I signed. I'm not gonna disclose that. So I just rebranded it Eagle. But this is a buyer site, and I have a buyer site for every one of my prospects, and they evolve from education in the early stages all the way to proposals in the final stage. This is a really great one because it went from start to finish. And so you'll notice that it's totally and completely branded. And I want to point out one thing. When we talked about making it easier for sellers, I want to be able to do this quick and easy. Eli, this was just masterful. I'm going to click here to show you how incredibly easy it is to set up a site. There's just three things: title, welcome message, and a buyer logo. And boom, you save it and you got a site live. It is incredibly simple to use, and you got to make it simple for us in sales, obviously, because we're interested in doing less in terms of paperwork and more in terms of closing deals. So in this particular buyer's journey, you'll notice this is all the content I have shared through the course of this deal, starting with the very first one, which was Power School video. It was a story about tell me how a customer used the product. So it's the education piece of it. It included, the standard presentation, some things that would get me to start faster if they looked at a few of these assets before we actually had our first presentation. And so then you see follow-up assets based on conversation. So pitch practice, some of the things in terms of doing correlations and technical that I don't really want to get to in a live meeting, but I want to be able to share assets with them post meeting. So it's a great way to get the geeky guys on the call engaged in a way that won't send your meeting off in a direction you didn't intend, but yet keep them engaged, right? So and then the final thing in this particular journey is my proposal walkthrough. I love this. So normally you send a proposal, and I was always taught you don't send a proposal without having a meeting. Well, what are we going to do when we can't have a meeting? The best way I know how to do is to narrate the proposal, and that's what I did here. And so this is a proposal walkthrough where I'm on the video. I'm explaining, what's included, how does it impact, how does it fit in with your goals, what are the strengths of it, and at the end I ask for the sale, and that is to me an incredible way to use the buyer's journey and the buyer's site here.
I love it. And what about insights or the analytics? How has that helped you?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So one of the questions I'd heard, how do you know you have them engaged? How do you know, what's happening is resonating, what you're sending is resonating? This analytics panel here, I'm going to click on it. I want you to see why I was really excited about this deal. When I see things get blowing up, when I send it to one person, And I end up with 84 site views shared across the continent and the world. So you'll notice Ashburn, Austin, Israel, Port Orange, everywhere. I can't possibly get all these people on a call, on a conference. This was shared worldwide. And you'll notice, I know what was being looked at, what time. I'm instantly pinged. Yes, I get that mail at 3:25 a.m. that says somebody's looking at the site, what videos they're watching, what's resonating with them. It gives me an opportunity to interact. Hey, I noticed you watched the pitch practice video. Is there any way that I can answer a question for you? And so it's incredibly important. Here are the analytic guys going after the assets that I loaded. There were links in here to our support pages, as well as demos and customer plays. So this just gives me incredible insight. And I think, Eli, it's going to give marketing incredible insights, because look at what's being shared and what isn't.
Yeah.
What video resonated and what didn't. This is just an incredibly rich.
This is a dream for marketing, Michele. It's a dream, right? So earlier you said, SalesHood is for salespeople. The content sharing and the buyer sites and the analytics and the insights, that view is CMOs and product marketers. They need this and they want it because they want to know the effectiveness of their content. And so that's why you really want one purpose-built, all-in-one sales enablement platform, because you want to see the training and how the training is working and the onboarding, and you want to see the pitch practice and the coaching, and you want that, and you want to see what content your sales teams are using. But if you can also see what the buyers are thinking, and you can correlate all that into one analytics dashboard, and then really understand what's working, what's not working. Michele, kudos. Really, really, thank you for walking us through it. I know this is a demo one. From a buyer's point of view, this is my generic site. You'll be able to brand it. You'll record I'm standing in the same place. You'll record the videos. You can see here the little assets. They're short little video vignettes, and you're doing files, you're doing videos, and everything is secure and safe. And you can schedule a meeting with me, and you can see my phone number there as well, which is great. And so it's the ultimate in buyer-seller collaboration. It's the ultimate in enabling the modern buyer's journey. And I'm super grateful, Michele, that you spent time with us today to walk us through it. So thank you very, very much. And really, today has been all about thinking about what the modern buyer's journey should look like in 22, but more importantly, how you could scale enabling your teams. And scaling, enabling your teams, you need to think holistically. It's more than just creating a library. It's more than just getting on a call and showing them how to use Zoom or Zoom, whatever video conferencing you have, whether it's Ring or Microsoft. You've got to get really thoughtful about the tools, the training, and the coaching. And you got to look across the buyer's journey. And then you got to look across, do they have the right meetings and tech? How are they executing? You got to train them on running their meetings more effectively, and give them tools for running meetings, like agenda templates, email templates. You got to map your process and your buyer's journey. You got to update your pitch, like we talked about, planting questions, so that way folks understand how to ask questions and how and when to use which slides in the buyer's journey. You got to give them prospecting tools and templates, and you got to provide them with ways that they can use modern buying journey resources for the close, like Michele did by recording a proposal walkthrough, right? And then ultimately relationship building as well. There's so much to do. And hopefully this serves as a foundation and as some inspiration for you as you begin thinking about, wow, how you can take some of this insight and deliver the same kind of experience to all your sellers. Because look at Michele, like she crushed her number, and her buyers love her. And she knows with full confidence when deals are progressing in the right direction and when deals are not progressing. I know it because I'm the CEO and I see the bubble up forecast. And she, but it's the judgment that modern selling can have, because you finally have insights into what your buyers are thinking, applying those insights to judgment so you can be even more accurate with your forecast. is insanely beneficial. Sales leaders, marketing leaders, CEOs, companies go to market. And so 3 big takeaways, Michele, and then I'll let you kind of wrap with us and then we'll take some questions, right? 3 things, right? You got to be thinking and rethinking about the evolution of your sales process to the modern buyer's journey. So create that holistic map, and the slides will be available, and there's blogs and resources, and you can always reach out if you want any of the additional tools that we've talked about today. And then once you've got that buyer journey documented and thought through, and you've got alignment across your leadership team, marketing, success, sales, everybody's aligned on what the buyer's journey is, then you got to build the resources and the tools, right? You got to get really granular, look at the detail, look at the demo vignettes, the case studies, create these short assets, right? You know, Michele, when she creates one of those buyer sites, she goes in there, she's looking in the library for approved videos and approved files, right? She doesn't have to guess. She's not wasting time looking for stuff. Content is being served up to her when she's creating the site, and she knows exactly what to share, and then she can track which ones are being viewed and engaged by her buyers. And then finally, the most important thing, well, everything's important, but don't forget, you got to train your people. You got to ramp them on how to use the tools, walk them through it, and ultimately provide reinforcement for your managers so they can reinforce in their one-on-ones, in their team huddles, and in their pipeline reviews as well. Michele, what final words of wisdom would you like to share with everyone before we open up to Q&A?
You know, I think, I guess nobody wins alone, nobody loses alone. So keep that in mind. And when we look at a modern buyer's journey, it's about collaboration together, right? Team effort. In this case, winning with your customer or your prospect and having all the people in the background selling with you. You may be the face, but you aren't the person, you aren't the only one in the sales process. So I say never win a deal alone, never lose a deal alone. And that just is just insight I've always shared as being a seller. But the second thing is that recognize that the environment is always changing, and a good sales rep is not afraid of training and adopting new tools. If you can show them through correlations that it means that I'm going to close more deals, and that's exactly what we do. So we talk a lot about adoption. How do you get people to do it? God knows I'm a tough cookie. I've been around the block, and it's hard to tell me what to do. You know, the fact of the matter is, I learned very quickly this stuff works, and I'm going to do what works, because ultimately, what am I, Eli? I'm a seller. Yeah. And if I'm not making sales, I'm not happy. So why do I use this stuff? I'll tell you why, because you've proven it works. And I'm not alone.
Michele, thank you. And I love every word that you've said. And so in terms of what's next for everyone, if anyone is interested in having my team and I conduct an assessment where we can help you assess your modern buyer's journey, you know, we've got an assessment tool where we can determine and see where you're at. You know, how are your tools? How are your resources? How's your training? How ready is your organization to embrace the modern buyer's journey? You can go to our buyer site on the website. There's a link, and it's in underneath the replay video. It's also in the feed. Fill out a form, and someone on my team, and we will engage with you. We will help you elevate how your organization is embracing digital selling and modern selling. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Michele, congratulations on a fabulous year. Really, really amazing. Thank you for showing us the way of how to embrace modern selling and a modern buyer's journey in one of the hardest years ever in the history of selling in 2021. And so, Michele, congratulations. And everyone, please let us know how we can support you in your journeys to embrace the modern buyer's journey.